Today, we're going to go through a simple automation using Syxsense Cortex. Cortex is our one-stop shop for all things IT management. If you need to deploy new software, evaluate a service, maybe remediate a CIS benchmark, all of that can and does happen through our Cortex workflow editor. We have thousands of presets. Many of them are for standard compliance, like the CIS that I just mentioned, or for port management, or software removal and installation. But there are plenty of times where people need to build their own type of compliance. And today, I'm going to walk you through a simple example revolving around the print spooler. The idea is you want to make sure that print spooler is running at all times on your devices. And what we can do is craft a simple two-step service eval that'll ensure that print spooler is currently active, and if it's not, it'll turn it on again. So to start, I'm going to give this workflow a name. I'm going to call it print spooler starter. Pretty simple. And what we're going to do is go over to the search bar on the upper right, and we're just going to type in service. And then from here, I'm going to drag over the service status action. There are hundreds of actions at your disposal on the sidebar, and each one of them has their own distinct set of questions that get asked when you drag over the action. And for this, all we're wanting to do is say, tell us what's currently happening with the print spooler service. So here for the name, I'm just going to type in spooler. And then you'll scroll down and hit save. Now we have an action. You can see that there's a bunch of nodes on the right-hand side of that action. We've got running, stop, paused, missing, and a bunch of others. These nodes let us make decisions about what should happen if the service is in a particular state. And as I said, we're looking for a very simple two-step evaluation. So if the spooler service is found to be missing, we then just want to perform the action of starting it. So here, I'm just going to type in service again. I'm going to select the Start Services button. And I'm going to drag that over to where it says stopped. And then here, I'm just going to tell it to start the spooler service. Now, you will note that under Start Services, there's the option to include a bunch of other services. This is really helpful if there might be a prereq. Maybe spooler is stopped because there's another service that's in a failed state that needs to have some sort of action taken, like starting that other service before spooler can initiate. This is really common if you have a branded printer that has its own process on the device where it connects to that remote printer to provide print services. You're going to have lots of interactions that you'll need to be able to evaluate and manage. But for now, we're keeping it very simple. So here, I'm again going to click save, and this allows us to see our simple two-step print spooler service manager. So again, just evaluating to see if the service is stopped, and if it is stopped, we will then start that service. There's lots of other things we could do here. I could create a process that sends an email if it's running. That's probably a little bit too aggressive. Or if we fail to start a service, we could open a ticket into your help desk toolset. Or if it's missing, we might install the service or provision the printer agent if you have one for your vendor. Lots of other things we can accomplish here. But I just want to make the simple point of evaluating and then remediating. So here we're going to click save and close on our print spooler starter, and then we're going to search for this particular workflow. So print spooler, and I'm just going to leave it there so it finds it, and we're going to open this workflow that we just made, and I'm actually going to publish this. publishing a workflow allows it to run on a cadence on the devices that you select. And what I want to show is what real-time compliance looks like in our platform. You'll see here that I have a bunch of options. I can do this daily, an interval maintenance window, network change, every time the user logs in. There's lots of ways that we can enforce a policy on a device. For this example, I'm going to do it once every 10 seconds. Really aggressive. I don't recommend doing a 10-second interval for everything, but if you have simple service management that you're trying to enforce, or maybe it's a software package like antivirus you need universally installed and always on, something like a 10-second interval is a safe bet. And then now here, where it says no devices, I'm going to go in and I'm going to target some of my desktops. So I'm going to select these 3 desktop devices, and we are going to click Save. Next, we'll just check our schedule again, 10 seconds, 3 devices, interval trigger, and the name Print Spooler Starter. Yep, everything looks good. So I hit Save one more time, and now we have our published policy. If I want to see that policy, I can go down to the Cortex tab on the console sidebar, click on Policies, and we can see that I have exactly one policy active. Schedule every 10 seconds on 3 specific devices. If there's something wrong with this policy, I can always jump in and edit and make changes to this existing policy, and that will then be disseminated down to the devices. I can change the list of assets it's assigned to, or all I want to do in this case is I just want to look at this running policy. So if I click on the service status, you'll see I've got 3 devices that are continually running this simple workflow. Again, it's not complex, so you're not going to see any CPU spikes because of this workflow. It's just evaluating a simple status. And because all of them should have their print services running, none of them are going to respond to this particular action, because here you can see the status currently is running. Now, if we want to change that narrative, I can go in to one of the devices. I will go to the process viewer here on this endpoint, and then I'm going to select services. We'll have to give it a moment to update, but once it has, if I go in here and type spooler, I should see the print spooler service. I am going to select stop on the service. It's going to take it a moment to respond. Once it does, we'll see that the service, if I search for spooler, should show up as stopped on that device, which I can look through here to find. Or actually, if I go back to Cortex and go to policies, I can see in our policy that within 1 or 2 revolutions of this workflow, there should be a change. And actually, you can see here that we have found that the device was in a failed state at this particular timestamp. And so it started that service again for us. And the service is now in a running state again. It might take it a moment or 2 for this to finalize its workflow, but that's how fast our product responds to problems. And you can get live alerting in our platform telling you, hey, you had a device that was non-compliant. You can get a ticket submitted, as I mentioned previously, or you can just see logs within our alerts panel within the platform. There's many different ways that you can interact with this automation toolset to accomplish any kind of tasks that your organization might have. So that's a simple demo of running and managing services within Cortex. In the future, we'll be covering all sorts of other material on the same subject and similar. So keep track of our YouTube channel and we'll give you more content. Thanks and have a great day.